Alrighty guys, hi, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day today. As always, if you're new here or returning and you haven't yet already, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Give the videos a big thumbs up if you like them. And if you ever have anything to contribute down in the comment section, please be sure to do so. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than some of the other videos I have made where I am doing my makeup. I have made some videos getting ready and chatting about some of the things going on in the community, or I have gotten ready while on live and talking to you guys. I have never really talked about products while I have gotten ready, so I figured that today I will do a get ready with me where it's solely about the makeup and the products I'm using. I guess you could call it a tutorial. However, I am not a professional. I've learned the things I have on my own and from watching other YouTubers, so take that what you will with it. So I just put on moisturizer, and the moisturizer I am using today is the Milk Makeup Vegan Moisturizer. It is quite a bit thicker. I have normal skin, but I do sometimes get dry patches, so whenever I feel that my skin either needs a little bit more moisture or is feeling a little bit more tight, I will put on the Vegan Milk Moisturizer. The other moisturizer that I really enjoy is the Tatcha Water Cream, which is a lot lighter. This is a really nice moisturizer, but it is more expensive, so I use that sparingly. While I let that sink in, I'm going to do my eyes first. I change between doing my eyes or my base first. It kind of depends on what eyeshadow palette I am using or what eyeshadows I am using as to if I will do my eyes or my base first. If I know the palette or the shadows are going to be powdery and have the potential to have fallout, I will typically do my eyes first. If it's a palette I haven't used in a while, like today, and I can't fully remember how the shadows work, I will typically do my eyes just to prevent any fallout or any messing up the base that I have put down. When it comes to doing my eyeshadow, I half the time use concealer and half the time use eyeshadow primer. I watch Robert Welsh, who is a pro makeup artist, and he really talks about the importance of using an eyeshadow primer versus a concealer. I personally, I can see where he's coming from, and like he has the education behind him to know that like that's a better technique, but it just does not always bode well for me. I don't see it last any different with a concealer or an eyeshadow primer. So today I'm only reaching in my Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette for one shade, and that is Desert Sand. I'll show it to you in a second, and that is just to set the concealer. It feels set, it's not tacky, but I don't want my eyeshadows to skip. I don't want any issues with blending, so I will set my eyeshadow. I find even when I use a primer, that's one of the steps that primers are supposed to eliminate. I don't feel that that's necessarily the case. I have the Urban Decay original eyeshadow primer potion that I don't feel I need to set, but I have the Anastasia eye primer, and I feel I have to set that one or else my eyeshadow gets weird. So I will show you the shade I just grabbed out of the Huda palette. I just grabbed this shade up here. It is very close to my skin tone, so it just sets that shade. The palette I am using today is one I haven't used in a while. I can't remember. I know a little bit about the formula of this, but I don't know if it's going to have a lot of fallout. So I am using the Anastasia, oh my gosh, the Natasha Denona gold palette. I know you can see my fingerprints and everything on it. And the palette looks like this if you haven't seen it. Just a very basic neutral palette. That's kind of the looks I go for, or I go for very warm tone looks. It's just something that I don't struggle with those colors. I find myself struggling with cooler tone colors. They tend to get muddy on my eyes. So I'm just going to tell you what shades I'm using, and if you want to maybe recreate this look or something like that, just refer to, no, you know, because people may not have this palette because it is a more expensive palette. I've had this palette for like a year and a half. I'm just going to point to the shade, that way you guys, if you don't have this particular palette, you can find a shade very similar. So the first shade I am dipping into is this one here, which is Sandstone. These are all kind of heavier in color than what I would typically go for a work day, but I could get away with probably wearing this look to work. We'll see how it turns out. And that shade I am just placing in the outer portion of my eye, kind of like halfway, the outer half of my eyelid, and then into my crease and slightly above my crease. I have hooded eyes, kind of, so when my eyes are open, you can't see all the work I do in my crease, so I try to blow it up a little bit. This is still something I am working on getting better at, so you can see more of the shades. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I will say, like, if I'm not talking through doing my makeup, it only takes me about 15 minutes from the eyes all the way to my base. Part that takes me the longest is my eyes, because I try to not have any harsh lines. I don't spend a ton of time blending, but I will spend extra time on my eyeshadow versus my base. So that shade is on and in. If you can, let me zoom you guys in just a little bit. This might be a little close, but so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna tap in just a little bit more, just to get a little bit more definition out here. And I'm just going to place in swirl or windshield wipers motions over it and go one last pass. If you can see right here, my eye, I've talked about it before, but you can actually kind of see it now. This part of my eye right here, I don't know why. You can see the line. It does not really take pigment. It's, as far as I know, I haven't gotten injured on my eye to cause it to maybe have scar tissue there. I don't know. It doesn't hurt, it's not bumpy, but I don't have that issue over here. So once that color is down, I'm gonna go to the next darkest color, which is teak. And that is this color here. You can see the difference. So this is the one I was using. It's more of a khaki tan color. This is more of like a brown undertone color. I'm gonna go into that shade, and I'm going to place it just on the outer part of my eye where the pigment is, and then slightly blend it up into the crease. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other eye. And this is just to provide a little bit more definition to the outer portion of my eye. Then I'm gonna go back and grab either a brush that doesn't have any product on it, or the brush I used from the shade before, and just blend over that really quickly to prevent any harsh lines. Or if I had any skipping, this step will typically blend it out and get rid of any skipping I had. So from there, the next step I do is I grab one of the darker shades in the palette. So this is the shade Log. This is the shade we were just using. So it's this shade. I'm gonna grab that, and I am going to just place it on the very outer portion of my eye. You can tap this on or you can swirl it on, whatever is best for you. Once the color's been laid down, I will go back in with a brush that had the slightly darker shade and blend over it and kind of drag it in a little bit so it'll be lighter as I'm pulling the shade in and up. When I'm in my crease, I try to keep my brush, if it's like a flat fluffy brush, keep it to where the flat side is going into my crease. That way the puffy parts can do the blending for me. And I try not to bring in my dark shades too much, especially on this eye, because of that patch where I don't take pigment. If I pull it into that spot like it kind of is now, you can really see that pigment's not going to take there and it looks kind of muddy. And then I will take the first brush, it's a very final over, and blow out everything as much as possible. Just kind of going all over everything, all over the lid. And this can, if you're working with a new palette and you're doing this, you're not sure how the shades are going to work, this can really muddy up a look if you take this step and you go over everything like I do. When I've done this before, I have ruined an entire look because the shades weren't down, they weren't actually placed down, so it went everywhere and all the shades ended up just looking like one big mess of a color. So now I just typically grab a shimmer shade. I'm trying to see which one I want to use. I will use Kava, I think that's how it's pronounced. That is this shade here. It's there, you can see it better. That's the real shade. It's like a gold, peachy kind of shimmer shade. And I might top it off with this, which is Sparks. This is extremely fallout-y though. This is just a topper shade, so we'll see. I am going to use my finger. It's kind of, I'm not flicking you guys off, sorry. It's just the finger I typically use when I use my fingers. I will most of the time try to use a brush over my fingers. I'm not weirded out by using my fingers for makeup, but because I usually have fake nails on, it is hard to get all the way in my inner corner. So I will opt more often for a brush, but I know Natasha Denona's eyeshadows that are shimmery have a ton of fallout and will not stick to a brush. Even with setting spray, I usually struggle with that. So that's all I'm going to do from that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab, that's not the right one, grab an Urban Decay Heavy Metals eyeliner. If I can get it open. So this is gold, and I'm just going to go over the center of my eye with this, just to give it that extra sparkle. When I'm using, it's very rare that I will actually do a full matte look. I don't mind them, but I prefer to have some shine and sparkle on my eyes. And I will either use this Heavy Metals, which is just, this is the, which color is this? This is the Midnight Cowboy, or I will use this iridescent one. You can tell I've used this quite a bit. This one is Pyro. Other than those, the other top coats I use are the Kaja bento boxes. Those are incredible. So I'm quickly going to do some mascara. and I don't go crazy with mascara. That might be part of the reason why I struggle with like my eyelashes actually looking half decent. But I don't coat on more than like one coat. Typically, sometimes I will go in for a second coat, but not normally. Just brush that through. It's 50-50 if I wear eyeliner. If I do, I prefer to use my potted eyeliner, which is the Anastasia black eyeliner with an eyeliner pen. I find the most precision out of that. However, I will use the Fenty Beauty eyeliner pen. So next I am going to go in with my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter, and I just kind of am gonna dot this where I would put highlight. Most days when I'm going to work, I actually don't use highlight. I only kind of put highlight on whenever I am filming, or if I'm going like out to eat somewhere nice. It's a step that I kind of don't do on a daily basis. I don't know why, I just don't. So some people mix this product in with their foundation. I don't like super glowy foundations. I'm gonna zoom you guys out a little bit. I don't like super glowy foundations. I prefer matte foundations, so I don't want to mix it in with my foundation. My Ride or Die I have two Ride or Die foundations. They are higher end. Today I am using one of them. That's the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter foundation. I know this was a very controversial. People either loved this product or they hated it. There was no middle ground. What I did today was I just squirted a pump and a half out onto my sponge, and then I dotted on my face, and then I blended in. Sometimes I will use a brush. It just depends. But my other go-to Ride or Die foundation is the Estee Lauder Double Wear, which is even more polarizing if people like that product or they don't. I think it's because I have pretty normal skin that it doesn't pull dry patches for me. I try to always be sure to put moisturizer on. I don't always put primer on. I don't think I used primer today. And that's kind of how my typical routine will go. Is I will, if I remember to put primer on, I will. If I don't, which I have one out for me that I have been using lately. Lately, if I didn't use it, I can't remember, is the Natasha Silk Canvas. I enjoy that primer. I also have the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. That's another primer I really enjoy. I just don't like how sticky it makes my hands feel. So I grabbed the Natasha one today. So once that's blended into my liking, I will grab some quote-unquote setting powder. I do not use actual like loose setting powder. Typically, I will use this Maybelline Fit Me pressed powder or the Rimmel, what is it? The translucent Rimmel pressed powder. I will use one of these. The Maybelline gives me just a touch more coverage, which is not needed with the Fenty foundation, but I don't have any issues with products skipping over this, and I've never tested to see what kind of coverage this actually provides. But I use that, and then for my bronzer, I have a couple that I use. However, the one I use almost every single day is the Fenty Beauty Powder in the Sun. And I kind of bronze and contour at the same time. Like, I know that's probably not a thing, but this is a bronzer, and I am putting it where you would bronze and contour your face. I don't try to sculpt, that's a weird word. I don't try to sculpt my face that much. I have tried to before, and that's when it really shows that I'm a novice and don't know what I'm doing, and it looks super muddy and all over the place. So I will dip in typically once or twice for each side, and then I just make sure I go over everything so there's no harsh lines. I will use a multitude of items for blush. If I remember blush is one of those things I kind of forget. Today I grabbed the NARS. I have a little trio from them. What is this called? The Orgasm Infatuation. This one. So the blush in here is their blush in the shade Orgasm. And I know this shade can be polarizing too. People either like it or they don't. It does have some like shimmer in it, which doesn't bother me because I don't typically wear a dewy foundation or anything like that. It doesn't bother me. So other than that, I will typically, if I'm not leaving the house, throw on any kind of lip balm that I have lying around. If I'm going to film, I will put on some lipstick or some lip gloss or a combination of both, and then I will set my face. I typically don't do eyebrows, as you can tell. I have plenty of products. I just don't typically do them. So this is, let me zoom you guys out. This is the final look. This is something I would typically wear almost every day. For work, it may be a little bit more toned down, but this is about my everyday look, other than if I'm gonna do something a little more fun and outside the box for me, which is just sticking with warm tones, like reds, pinks, things of that nature. So I will see you guys in my next one. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any suggestions or tips, be sure to leave them down below. Otherwise, I hope you're having a good day, evening, or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.